Welcome to Towson University in Maryland. This is the Women's World Lacrosse Championship on ESPN. From United Stadium, the round of 16 continues with top-seeded the United States. Three-time defending champions, they face 16-seeded Hong Kong, China. As we look at our bracket, the winner of this game will take on a game that's just underway as well, the 8-9 battle between New Zealand and Japan. The quarterfinals will take place tomorrow night. And with that, welcome here to Towson. Alongside former Maryland star defender Courtney Martinez-Connor, I'm Ralph Bednarczyk. So the U.S. took care of business, Courtney, in Pool A, going 4-0. Now they start the medal round. It's an entirely new season. They take on a scrappy Hong Kong China team tonight.
You know, both of these teams have two completely different goals. Hong Kong, China, they want to compete each and every play as if it's its first. And on the U.S. side, they just want to make sure to keep their level high, which they have the entire tournament thus far. And
as we look at our highlight players, top two scorers for this developing Hong Kong, China team on the attack, starting with Maya Wang and Wing Yi Lam.
When you look at these two players, one is an attacker, the other a midfielder. However, they are integral parts on the field, leading goal scorers as well as tied in points for their team. So look through the ball to run through them a lot on the offensive end of the field.
U.S. got a good matchup last night against England, pulling away with a big game from Taylor Cummings.
Taylor Cummings does a great job, number one, of leading at the draw control, but two, imparting her wisdom offensively, using her speed, her tenacity. She's a tough dodger, and she can even add some sparkle in on her shots.
So the U.S. begin their quest to become four-time defending champions in the Women's World Championship, and it's coming up next.
Every player knows the skills you learn on the field can be the foundation for anything you choose to do in life.
Thank you for the sweat, the tears, the pride, and for the celebration we share.
When I reach for a stick, it's like I'm shaking hands with history. Thank you for connecting me to a greater community.
It's more than a game to me. It's a gift to be a positive force in young athletes' lives. And I'm thankful I can help the next generation develop a love for the sport.
When I was his age, those moments on the field meant everything. Thank you for giving us a way to stay connected, even as they get older.
We're growing beyond goals on the field.
And our futures are united.
You give me the opportunity to fuel aspirations
and to ignite potential.
So thank you, Lacrosse.
For inspiring me to be me.
We are better,
safer,
and wiser together.
And we're building a stronger future
for everyone.
It's coming. The world is coming to San Diego. 30 nations, 30 teams. Only one will be crowned world champion. There's nothing like playing for your country. This is the pinnacle of sport. Be here as legacies are forged and history is made.
Hong Kong, China, the 16 seed, the first ever 16 seed in the newly expanded championship bracket, taking on top-seeded the United States. Jennifer Morosu is a native of New Jersey. A lot of travel coaching experience and high school coaching experience, but now she's been the head coach of Hong Kong for the last 3.5 years. And Jenny Levy, fresh off of another national championship with North Carolina, transitioning right to taking over the United States here this summer and pursuing a world title. The U.S. in the familiar whites, red on red for Hong Kong. Taylor Cummings, the draw against the captain of Hong Kong, Daphne Lee. And Cummings comes up with it. In transition, all the way to cage, and a finish. So the U.S. instantly converting The finish comes from Kayla Trainer on that right side, 1-0 off the Cummings feed.
We talked about Taylor Cummings in the opening. She always is battling for each and every 50-50 ball, but quickly moving it down the field with her speed, passing the ball to a wide open Kayla Trainer. So on that lefty side, even though being left-handed, that's not her dominant side.
Such a polished player, and now being a head coach at Syracuse. Cummings winning the draw cleanly. Hong Kong will tell you about their journey to get here. They are 2-2, heartbreaking overtime loss to Ireland. Otherwise, they would have been perhaps in a higher position here in this bracket and not have to face the U.S. But they come up with a draw control only momentarily before Trelchek takes it away by Cummings. Feed ahead, the drop pass off and the trailer, and it's a finish. Stepping into the shot, Marie McCool.
Team USA, so very unselfish in their play on the field. Any one of these players can take someone on one-on-one. But in transition, moving the ball is the key to the game. Marie McCool, one of the fastest players on the field. She's a dominant midfielder, slices and dices her way through defensive sets using her speed, her power, and her stick work skills. She puts herself on the board tonight, making it 2-0 Team USA.
And Court, she shot the ball great. Now 13 of 17 so far here in Maryland. Trainer found her. The U.S. finds the draw control cleanly. And goal for Hong Kong is Sally Yu. Go through the defenders. Wai Ki Se, along with Hui Yan Liu, goes by Trish, and Leona Chak. And the U.S. with their same exact starting lineup as it was yesterday against England. Boy, England gave them such a good battle before the U.S. were able to close it out. As that shot beats Yu. Well, off the face dodge, back-to-back goals for McCool, 3-0.
Well, we talked about the offense sharing the ball for Team USA. Marie McCool actually does such a great job of challenging down the alley. The alleyway gives you less of an angle, but these Team USA players are able to shoot essentially from below goal line extended, very low angles to each elbow. Things that they work on. They are not one-trick ponies.
McCool continues to increase that shooting percentage. The U.S. as a team shooting in at 56%. Now Ali Mastriani in on the draw. Hong Kong will put up Maya Wang, who's one of 4 players that has U.S. college experience on their roster. Mastriani able to self-draw. So she retreats away from Wang. And the U.S. back to work. Kayla Trainer, Sam Mabuzzo, Charlotte North on the attack. Taylor Cummings with Marie McCool, Emily Paros, the first midfield. Everybody healthy and active for the U.S. tonight. And in the low D, eventually on the other end, we'll see Emma Trenchard with Becca Block and Alice Mercer with Liz Hogan in goal. Mastriani. Working her way through, Ali Kennedy is bumped. And Kennedy will have the game's first free position.
Ali Kennedy, number 30 for Team USA. She is tough to stop with a head full of steam.
Kennedy taking it across and beating Yu low. So the U.S. perfect 4 of 4 shooting against Hong Kong.
As I'd mentioned, Ali Kennedy, hard to stop in a 1v1, but she utilizes that speed off of her free positions as well. She has a quick start, is able to get a shot off before any defensive players are able to get a stick on hers to slow that shot down. Very speedy on the field. Was a leading scorer at Stony Brook during her time there as a collegiate player.
Yeah, playing under U.S. assistant Joe Spallina, who has brought Stony Brook into the national landscape over the last decade. Mastriani knocking it down. Hong Kong picking up their second draw. Can they start some transition? And they skip it across, looking for Wing Yi Lam. And swooping in for the ground ball is Alice Mercer.
Ralph, oftentimes when you have such a dominant team like Team USA, and on the flip side, a new up-and-coming team, Hong Kong, China, we've seen them play. They're fast, they're relentless. 2 exact words that their coaching staff describe them as. It's just a matter of settling down, getting comfortable, being with the reigning world champion on the field, because we've seen them play in other games. They know what they're doing. It's just relaxing and being confident with the ball.
Sally Yu, the redefend of Ali Kennedy, well up the field. And Yu will bring it closer to safety. This Hong Kong-China program has been together since April 1st, every day, including spending 2 months together in the Czech Republic. As we have a whistle off ball. And our officials are going to give the ball to the United States and Ali Kennedy for a free position up top. Hong Kong was offsides. Kennedy, and she'll decide to run some offense. Rest of the Hong Kong starters, the midfield, Charlotte Hartley with their captain, Daphne Lee, and Steffi C. And on the attack, we'll see Kei Hai Ho, along with Alexandra Tsai and Wing Yi Lam. Quick stick in front. Nice dart to the front. Kayla Trainer, 5-0.
The connection between Kayla Trainer and Sam Apuzzo right here. We see as soon as the ball gets to X, that's behind the goal cage, Sam Apuzzo, as soon as she's caught the ball, her eyes are already up. She knows that she's going to have a teammate inside cutting. Sam Apuzzo and Kayla Trainer, that's mentor and mentee. Previously, Kayla coaching Sam Apuzzo at Boston College. Now they coach against one another between Syracuse and Boston College. Kayla Trainer, head coach at Syracuse, just had her first season. Sam Apuzzo, one of the assistant coaches at Boston College, who just lost in the national championship game.
Barely a month ago.
This is a lot of lacrosse this summer. I can't believe it's...
And it's going all the way through Monday. And we'll be with you here on ESPN+. I don't know how many more games are left, Courtney. I don't want to add it up. There just isn't enough time to do that. There's another game to prepare for. That would be a waste. Alexandra Tsai will work her way through the restraining box and pick up a foul. Hong Kong quickly on the restart, and they turn it over. Too many U.S. defenders, and a transition opportunity for Marie McCool develops. The U.S. 5-for-5 shooting. McCool down low. North off the fake. A second, and then she has her first. Hold on a moment, a whistle. The goal is waved off.
So it looks like that goal.
Perhaps an illegal stick. They're going to go over and have a look at it. So North heads over to get another. And that stick is going to be taken out of the game. Certainly the finish spectacular, but as Charlotte switches up her stick, Jenny Levy wondering what that might be about. There was some conversation about the newest stick technology coming out, which ones are approved, which ones are not. And perhaps that stick has been flagged as one that cannot be used. So the U.S. loses the goal and the possession, but they get it right back, and here comes McCool. And what is a 4-on-2? Down low comes Trainer, hit the post with the shot. Emily Paros And under pressure by Hong Kong, and a good job by Leona Chak on the far sideline. Hong Kong will have it.
The full pressure 10-man ride proves difficult for so many teams, even those within the Pool A bracket. And that's what we're seeing on display right now from Team USA. A lot of pressure all over the field. Goalkeeper bumping all the way up, Liz Hogan.
And the U.S. the other way, numbers again, and they score again. So another 50-yard run. Sam Apuzzo right to the front, and we'll have a timeout by Hong Kong, 6-0.
Sam Apuzzo in transition right here, using her speed. Unfortunately, Hong Kong China not realizing they needed to leave Kayla Trainer down low and take the person with the ball. Ball carrier always most important because they are the ones who can score. Finishing off on that easily, trailing in with a 1v none, as I call it, when you are left just with the goalkeeper in front of you.
In the early going, Marie McCool a pair of goals. Kayla Trainer right now leads the way with 2 goals and an assist so far. So the U.S. officially shooting 6 of 7, and Trainer also hitting the pipe, could have 3. So a little controversy about the stick, and we'll find out more about that afterwards. And Charlotte North will have to use a different one, which I'm sure she's comfortable with multiple sticks. Court, how often do you have your go-to stick probably, but you probably want to use multiple sticks in practice too, just in case of anything, right?
She definitely has a backup, if not 2 at this point, strung the exact same way. So whether it was too much of a pocket on her stick, you know, still remains to be seen. But Charlotte North certainly getting comfortable with her stick. Coming in, I believe earlier in the tournament, her stick was pulled out as well. So it's not the first time she's used this in play or by choice. I remember seeing her with that white stick. So I think her shot selection, the wind-up that everybody's so excited to see, we're going to see at some point this game off of an 11-meter free position.
Yep, the wind-up has become one of her signature moves for this young but revolutionary player that has captured the hearts of many young players that are here watching her and wearing number 10 North jerseys. The youth tournament, the festival taking place at the adjacent fields, all with games starting at 8 a.m. here in Towson, and then they lead up to all the young players coming to watch the U.S. and all the Pool A teams and everybody here. Allie Kennedy shooting, and Sally Yu will come up with her first save as Yu fires the clear too far, and Hogan here backing it up. And Hogan right back over the top. Mercer probes, and the U.S. to work 6-on-6. Six of 8 shooting for the United States.
Patience is certainly key whenever you get the ball, especially for the first time in quite some time. Making sure to get it clearly and cleanly.
Oh, the behind the back shot. Good defense by Hong Kong. And Trainer got a good look. That was the only look she had too, with the defender draped all over her.
And a behind the back look at that. So we've seen this several times when a ball is coming in. They make the players stop their feet before they start moving. It's a rule in international play. Different than what we see in NCAA.
Another feed inside, it's Kennedy. Now the U.S. just moving the ball from side to side, and Allie Kennedy with a pair in the opening quarter.
As we watch this, Kayla Trainer, her eyes are up. Sam Apuzzo electing not to take that first one, but an immediate cutter right on her heels. So we see right here, 2 people sliding to Sam. That opens up a lane for somebody else. Allie Kennedy being the benefactor of that one. Kayla Trainer so dominant with the ball in her stick because she can score, again, with low to no angle, but she has such vision on the field as well.
4 of the 7 goals for the U.S. have been assisted. Mastriani, the draw control. Kennedy, the push. North with the white stick now. Feed over the top, carries through. And Hong Kong unable to get there at the restraining line, so the U.S. keeps it with Dempsey Arsenault on. Final game here. There was some concern about some weather that happened in the middle portion of the day, about 3:30 to 4:15 or so. We experienced some rain. Thought perhaps in our last game, sticks a little bit slick for Canada and Puerto Rico. Not here, it is dried up. As that shot from Ali Mastriani wide. And another quick look, and the U.S. not wasting any time.
Defensively, we can hear the communication of Hong Kong, China, calling out for ball, that players who are in help position.
Next cutter through Trainer and denied. Sally Yu saw where the pass was coming from North. Sally Yu's been a long-time trained goalie. She might be the fastest on the team in the 40-yard dash. Talking to their head coach, Jennifer Maruso. Very, very quick, and also recovering from a torn ACL to keep that speed. It's not often where your goalie might be the fastest. As here is some speed from the U.S. off of a turnover. Then the other way, and Yu is beaten. On the other end, the U.S. able to get the conversion. And they add another, and it's 8-0. Alice Mercer, the defender, able to get a look at goal and convert.
Emma Trenchard getting several ground balls already in today's match. Alice Mercer, another defender in transition, showing her offensive skill. What I like is the speed that you see coming out of the backfield. Team USA doesn't do anything at half pace. It's all about acceleration, going hard, eyes up, looking at the next option. In defender scoring, they can shoot too.
As you've said, you find defenders by recruiting midfielders. Kennedy, they'll redo the draw with 1 second showing, and that'll be all. So the U.S. shoots 8 of 14, including 6 of their first 7. Big start for the U.S. on a comfortable evening at Towson. 8-0 after 1 on ESPN+. through the years for the United States, and some of the great memories and great teams that have won championships for the U.S. going back to 1982. A run of 4 straight was ended in 2005 by Australia. And then the U.S. into the last decade plus, 09, 13, and 17. They've won 3 in a row since that heartbreak to the Aussies and Jen Adams. Through Pool A, tell you what, Courtney, they got a great test from Canada. That game was 12-10 with about 12 or so minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Canada pushed the U.S. The U.S. had to respond in that game and eventually pull it out 16-11, and that sets up perhaps the appetizer to what could be a clash of titans in the gold medal game Saturday.
You know, Canada and England have both given Team USA a run for their money. Nobody coming closer than 5 goals. However, that's pool play, and they understand that this is on their turf, and no home country has won the gold medal when it is at home for them. So they do not want any distractions. They want to make sure to keep things light, but still focused, knowing that they could be making history here.
And as Scott Teeter alluded to, head coach of Canada, is that for that first game, you're really not going to show your cards. You're going to play it straight up, see how it evolves, and then you perhaps have some adjustments in your back pocket ahead of a potential gold medal game. And that's just good gamesmanship. And you see how it evolves, and the teams, even though it's just 8-9 days, teams can change a lot because you're playing so many games.
We've already seen teams evolve throughout this entire tournament as you get more comfortable. Many of them not able to train as often as what they would have liked. Obviously, due to COVID, this World Championship has even been pushed back an entire year. So instead of 8 or 9 trainings, they're getting 1 or 2, and that's a whole lot less. So this is learning and growing as a team for sure.
Former Stony Brook star Kylie Olmiller has come on for the first time. 17-1. She fires with the right hand. So Olmiller got a pass in the cradle, got it back, got warmed up. 9-0.
Kylie Olmiller, she had such an illustrious career at Stony Brook for Joe Spallina. She enjoyed playing for him. He gave her creative freedom. And right there, she's just showing her toughness, her solid stick work. She's so powerful. But one of my favorite things about Kylie is watching her in and around the crease. She's so creative. Oftentimes I think, does she even know how to shoot anything else than a behind the back, between the legs? And when you see her do something basic, for lack of better terms, it's still so dominating because it's strong.
Joe Spallina there, big smile on his face. Head coach of the Stony Brook Seawolves. Watching Kylie finish. Taylor Cummings off the draw control to take it all the way to goal. So she's able to go coast to coast and to make it 10-0 in the first half.
So 2 fast breaks, power shot by Kylie Olmiller to a 1v1 of Taylor Cummings. We saw that little stutter, the little hesitation, slowing down a few stutters to throw off her defensive player, get them back on their heels before she accelerated again. Taylor Cummings, one of the best competitors, truest competitors on the field in any sport. In high school, she won a state championship, and not just lacrosse 4 times, but basketball and soccer. And she was a starter for both.
Yep, at the famed McDonough School, 4-time Maryland champions. McDonough School went through a stretch of winning 198 consecutive games. Imagine that. And that lasted nearly 11 years before that came to an end in 2018. Taylor Cummings a real part of that, and now she is the head coach at McDonough, trying to start a new string of wins, and I'm sure trying to surpass that and get to 200.
You know, it's something that I don't think can be done again. There's just a lot of parity in the sport when you look at the high school as well as the collegiate game. You know, Maryland had 7 in a row, Northwestern had 4 in a row. It's just something where a lot of teams have progressed And same thing at the high school level. McDonough has not won a state championship the last 2 years. Not to say that they're not good. They have amazing players. But it's just one of those things that's probably never going to happen in our lifetime.
Yeah, it's just no longer an automatic bid that they would go and win it, which is great for the sport. Cummings, speaking of which, she got the pass from Kylie Olmiller from the wing. And Taylor with consecutive goals, 11-0.
Team USA showing their range right here. Kylie Olmiller, super unselfish. Her eyes are up. She knows that she has teammates coming in and off of those picks from the weak side. They cut well, they time everything with precision. They make it look easy, but it's actually hours and hours of work getting to know one another's nuances on the field and be able to have that connection. Kylie probably could have had that with her eyes closed, but these teams train and work hard, progress.
And how about Hong Kong? Able to come up with a strip check. That's Vanessa Yu, the Yu sisters out of Oyster Bay, Long Island, where they starred for a small school. And then they both went off to play in the Ivy League. Michelle, graduating from Dartmouth. Vanessa Yu, class of 2020 at Yale. Both very solid midfielders. And Hong Kong with perhaps their first true possession on offense. Out of the double, Maya Wang. She plays for Cal, will go into her sophomore year. And then the takeaway by the United States.
We talk about Team USA's offense, but their defense, credit them. They are fast, they're physical, they're strong, and they are sending doubles quickly. It's how they were able to cause that turnover on that last one. They are in it to win it. When you're in a double team, you want to get the ball, and that's exactly what they did, closing the gap, staying on each side of the attacker, left and right side, communicating all the way through it until you're able to get that check off.
And I asked Jennifer Morosu just about this game and what she'd love to see. First of all, it is so hard to replicate the speed the United States plays with, and all these Pool A teams of these developing countries trying to make the next step. And you've got to be in these games, as she talked about, in order to see it. But very inspirational group. I thought it was noteworthy as their players adopted the motto, work until your idols become your opponents. And that has happened tonight for Hong Kong. Many of them huge fans, of course, of Charlotte North and Taylor Cummings, who are icons in the sport globally. And the Hong Kong players have come and watched them. Perhaps might try to get autographs even afterwards. But they have worked so that their idols have become their opponents tonight. Taking it to goal. And the United States gets another on free position from Dempsey Arsenault.
Dempsey Arsenault, such a dominant midfielder. She had a great summer season last year in Athletes Unlimited. One of the leaders, a captain at one point. She's so athletic on the field. She's a really understated player, and that she makes things look easy. She's fluid from side to side, but if we look right there, ACC Midfielder of the Year, ACC, one of the toughest conferences in the country, probably the toughest, next the Big Ten.
And she was there at BC right at the start of the ascension of Boston College. And of course, reaching a crescendo with the acquisition of Charlotte North. Transition off the draw. And Hong Kong able to balance up. Arsenault able to receive the pass and then outlet behind. And the U.S. will work it around. They've got 12 goals on 18 shots and 1 pipe and 1 goal disallowed. And they've got 12 goals without Charlotte North having 1 officially.
They have so many weapons on the field. If you look to deny any one attacker the ball, there's 5 others who can step up. International play at 6v6 inside of the restraining box.
They look to cut through. Kennedy recovers the loose pass, and Sally Yu coming up with the save. Behind the back flip inside Yu, making the save up high. She was able to dive, but Molly Hendrick, after Olmiller went behind the back on the feed. The U.S. re-dodges. Arsenault gave it up behind. Next cutter coming through, and a good job staying and getting on the hands of Ali Mastriani by Hong Kong.
As you look at your lower left, Sally Yu for Hong Kong China in goal. 2 back-to-back saves, putting her body in front of the ball. Super athletic. Besides being one of the fastest, her coach says she's one of the strongest on the team.
It's Arsenault ahead, has a trailer, and then the U.S. a touch too unselfish as they throw it back. Did Sam Apuzzo.
I think if Hong Kong China, if they're able to handle the pressure coming out of their defensive end and able to give themselves some more offensive challenges.
Olmiller dropped it back, getting it back from Mastriani. Planted and shot, hold on though. It's a yellow card issued on Hong Kong after the goal. So the goal counts. Vanessa Yu heading off for Hong Kong, and it'll be a 2-minute non-releasable for the United States.
As we watch this replay, Ali Mastriani right there as she was challenging down the alley. Her defensive player got a check off to the head, Vanessa Yu. So that's what the referees are giving a yellow card for, but she was still able to maintain her composure and hit Kylie Olmiller on the inside.
So because of the card, there is no draw control, and the U.S. very quickly 6-on-5 here. Hong Kong came in at 2-2 after opening up some eyes during pool play to get the 16th seed. That's the final seed of the championship bracket. The first ever 16th seed with the growth of the bracket and the sport. Just consider 5 years ago, 2017, it was only a 12-team championship bracket. Behind the back there, and a cut from Marie McCool. Marie had lined that one up, and it came out beautifully.
Kylie Olmiller with the feed. In the player up, we see that Hong Kong China, they are in a zone defense because they are a player down. One of the unfortunate sides of international play is when you get a yellow card, you have to play down that entire length. It is non-releasable. Very different than at the collegiate level. Whereas if a goal is scored, it's releasable. But Marie McCool showing her stick work with that behind the back, well placed into that lower corner. Team USA, reigning world champs for a reason. They are in search of their first ever gold medal on home soil. The last 2 times was in the United States, 1986 in Pennsylvania, 2005 in Maryland, and in both of those instances, Australia came up with it.
Yep, particularly the 05 team led by Jen Adams. 14-7 the final. The Aussies are in Pool A. And are on the U.S. side of the bracket. That would be the semifinal matchup. But Australia will have a matchup against Haudenosaunee, who picked up a 12-5 upset today over a Pool A team in Scotland. So that's the big news today. Also a 10-7 upset. The Czech Republic advancing, and perhaps what might be called the greatest generation of Czech Republic lacrosse. They have some real icons playing on their team in that country as they get past Germany in a game that has gone final earlier. So the growth of the game, you can see it and how it has expanded. 29 teams the largest tournament field ever. And a quick feed inside, waiting at the doorstep was Molly Hendrick. She puts it in, it's 15-0.
Molly Hendrick coming off the bench for Team USA, putting herself on the board. We see right there, it was a little bit of deception. Charlotte North looking to her right before she switched and gave that feed to the opposite side. Molly Hendrick on the doorstep of that goal circle. Nice little quick stick, no cradles, just getting rid of the ball as quick as you can. Want to catch that goalkeeper before they've turned and have been able to set and explode to the ball.
Hendrick with a 4th of the tournament. And you'd put her somewhere in the 4th or 5th attack spot for Jenny Levy. And off the draw, the U.S. again. Lizzie Colson, haven't mentioned her name yet. A fantastic draw controller. May not matter much here, but someone that can change the tempo of games inside the draw circle.
She was always so powerful and explosive. Watching her in the collegiate game and other Team USA games, always able to come up, whether the ball's in the air, on the ground. She just really has a knack for it. It's tracking the ball, which is easier said than done.
Final 15 seconds of what has been a near perfect first half for the U.S. That shot is wide and they don't have backup. So looks like Charlotte North is going to go scoreless for the half. Officially. Sally Yu can just hold it. And we will get to halftime. So the United States playing in the first ever 1 versus 16 game in the Women's World Lacrosse Championship. And they are in complete command. 15-0 over Hong Kong, China. We'll be back with more at the half from Towson.
Yo, yo, yo. Do you know? I've seen it all before. This goes Tiger. Just as sharp from the bending knee. My main man, Money the King. There ain't nothing I ain't seen.
Okay, old school. Have you seen someone ball like John Morant? You know you can't. You've never seen anyone like a thing. The point guard queen, Sky, or Chloe Kim. Do you know there's never been anyone else like them? Look, OG, no disrespect. I know you think you've seen everything, but you ain't seen nothing yet. Checkmate.
Every player knows the skills you learn on the field can be the foundation for anything you choose to do in life.
Thank you for the sweat, the tears, the pride, and for the celebration we share.
When I reach for a stick, it's like I'm shaking hands with history. Thank you for connecting me to a greater community.
It's more than a game to me. It's a gift to be a positive force in young athletes' lives. And I'm thankful I can help the next generation develop a love for the sport.
When I was his age, those moments on the field meant everything. Thank you for giving us a way to stay connected, even as they get older.
We're growing beyond goals on the field.
And our futures are united.
You give me the opportunity to fuel aspirations
And to ignite potential.
So thank you, Lacrosse.
For inspiring me to be me.
We are better
safer,
and wiser together.
and we're building a stronger future
For everyone.
The U.S. shooting the ball great. The top seed, 4-0 through pool play, 15-0 over Hong Kong, China. We're coming back with highlights and a special guest here from Towson on ESPN+. The U.S. leading Hong Kong, China here at the half. And back in Towson, we're joined by a special guest. Ralph Bjornchuk with Courtney Martinez-Connor, and joining us in the middle here is Joe Tsai, co-founder of Alibaba, co-owner of 2 NLO franchises, and a big supporter of World Lacrosse and a great benefactor. And most importantly, Joe, the father of Alexandra Tsai, who is playing right now for Hong Kong. What has this experience been like for you? This has taken a long time and a long journey to come together for both Hong Kong, China, and of course the entire group to put this tournament together.
Right. I mean, first, I want to just give a shout out to the entire team. These women from Hong Kong, they have trained so hard with all the COVID protocols in Hong Kong, very restrictive. And the team actually went away for 3 months. A lot of the women have to actually quit their jobs to stay on the team. And they're well prepared. They played a very good pool play and very tough games against Ireland and New Zealand. So I've been very encouraged to see how this team has progressed over the years. Obviously having my daughter on the team, number 19, shout out there. And she's playing attack today, but she usually is on the midfield. And just having that special, child in the game. And mixed feelings, a lot of feelings with her. She's gone through a lot, and to stay on this team, and made a lot of friends too. She was in the tournament 5 years ago in 2017. And just to see her progress and bloom, and for me, it's just an incredible feeling to be here in person to see her play.
Joe, now the sport of lacrosse, what made you become so fond of it? I'm sure you played a lot of sports growing up, but what was it about the sport?
Well, I like to say that I got cut from baseball in my high school team. So, I picked up lacrosse in high school and continued to play in college. I wasn't a high-level player. I wasn't recruited for it. I just walked onto the team and loved the game. And when our family moved to Hong Kong, there wasn't really an environment for the kids to play lacrosse. And some of the parents, many of them from America, actually started a small program. And I taught my kids to just throw and catch in the backyard and stay with it, and sort of got reconnected with lacrosse after college. It's because I had kids and I had to teach them how to play.
What we don't do as parents.
Joe, everybody, I think, here at the Women's World Lacrosse Championships, they have a dream and a vision that someday it's going to be an Olympic sport, whether it's 2028, Los Angeles, perhaps even beyond that. What is your dream? What is your vision as this starts to play out, and there's so much work being done behind the scenes to show that this sport is now global?
Yeah. Well, first, it's the mission of World Lacrosse that every country in the world has somebody playing lacrosse. And when we, very early days in the Hong Kong program, we had a few hundred players. But now Hong Kong has a very good youth development program with 20,000 participants in Hong Kong. And at the adult level, there's about 1,000 players, men and women, that play club and also play at the elite level that ultimately gets up to the national representative team. So this is, seeing how Hong Kong developed is a microcosm of how I could see other countries in the world, if there are people that are willing to commit, coaches that are willing to spend the time and develop the players. I think development is absolutely important. Start at the young level, middle school, high school. So I can see this permeate throughout a lot of different countries. It's great to see so many different countries represented here at this tournament.
And I'm sure you walked around and not just seen Hong Kong, China games, but you've seen probably the majority of 29 teams. This is something else, the way this tournament has grown.
Yeah, with the growth, I think what's exciting to me is the game is growing to many places that you wouldn't think would have lacrosse. Obviously in Asia, we've now got, Japan has been the sort of the powerhouse in Australia, but now we have Hong Kong, China is here. There are teams in Southeast Asia. That's the sport is growing. And we also see Africa picking up the sport. Unfortunately, Uganda couldn't make it here because of passport issues, but we are seeing this just see the game develop in Africa. I think that's going to be very helpful for us, for the sport to as we push for the Olympics.
Well, Joe, thank you so much for all the work you do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Joe Tsai, the co-founder of Alibaba, owning 2 NLL teams, a great friend and supporter of World Lacrosse, and father of Alexandra Tsai, who is on the field right now getting ready for Hong Kong, China, facing the U.S. in the second half. That's coming up on ESPN+.
We want the gold medal. We've been dreaming of it our entire lives. But this summer, we want more. We have an opportunity together to change the sport and women's athletics for the better. The eyes of the lacrosse community will be on us. Never has this sport been more popular. Never has this platform been bigger. So what's this about? A team of talented women with a shared goal. Inspiring a new generation, one whose identity is a sense of pride and not a limitation. Relentlessly pursuing equity in our sport and beyond, we want the greatness of all women's athletes to shine. The world will be watching. Let's put on a show. This is more than a medal. Are you with us?
Fasten your seatbelt.
The game you've always loved just found a new gear.
Introducing World Lacrosse Sixes.
It's speed and scoring,
Tempo and transition.
athleticism and action.
It's big-time energy packed onto a smaller playing surface.
It's the game you've always loved, brought to you at warp speed.
It's lacrosse on the Autobahn.
Don't blink. This is World Lacrosse Sixes.
And back from the Women's World Championship here in Maryland. 15-0, the United States all over 16-seeded Hong Kong, China. Ralphie Norchik with Courtney Martinez. Connor, we have a look at our first half highlights, and Court, the U.S. shot the ball great.
They got on the board early and they kept them coming throughout the game. Scoring off of one-on-ones, feeds inside, some fancy behind the backs in there. They showcase their speed from Kayla Traynor to Marie McCool, shooting from all angles. Love it when they take the alley shots, but then working together, sharing the ball is what they do best, what they do well, and how they maintain that team play. Taylor Cummings, we talked about her early in the game. She is dominant at the draw control, competes for every 50-50 ball, yet manages to come up with them somehow. And right here, we see her off to the races. She takes a one-on-one, fancy little steps inside, getting defense on their heels, and then one more for Cummings, showcasing that she has the ability not just to dodge, but to cut as well.
The U.S. spreading out the scoring. 15 goals on 24 shots. Hong Kong, China without a shot. 5 saves in net for Sally Yu. McCool leads the way with 3. Traynor and Olmiller 2 and 2. Not listed, Charlotte North. She's been held to an assist. The winner of this game will take on the winner between New Zealand and Japan, also currently underway on this, the first day of the championship round. The bracket with 16 teams finishing up in Saturday's final. Ali Mastriani draws behind her. And Hong Kong will rake it ahead, and they'll pick up the draw with Charlotte Hartley.
Smart little play to push the ball out from one teammate to the other. If you're ever trailing, making sure to hit it with your stick so your teammate can come up with it cleanly.
So the U.S. outlets. And for Hong Kong, look, they have wins over Spain 12-1, Austria 15-2. Those are established European nations that are also in an infancy stage. But they are very much in a development period where they're about 10 years old. And then Hong Kong had a chance to defeat Ireland. They were up by 1 with just seconds left, leading 11-10. They had the ball looking for a clear. They were stripped. Ireland tied it just before the final horn, and then Ireland won it in overtime. That's how close Hong Kong could have been to being 3-0 and then get out of this 16 seed. And then they lost in a tight game 10-8 to New Zealand, also very competitive. And New Zealand here the 8th seed. So for Hong Kong, China, it has already been a pretty successful and eventful pool play, and they'll have a chance to win some games in the consolation bracket once this one is over. Kylie Olmiller off the left wing free position, and the U.S. will keep it hot. So while the score is lopsided, Hong Kong has already had a good week, and they could have something to build off of this experience. There was a behind-the-back feed. Olmiller attempted it. And the call will go against the United States.
You see some bright spots on the defensive end for Hong Kong, China. I think at points they sit back a little too far, but the more comfortable that they get with stepping out, giving themselves room to get their feet moving when a challenge is happening, if you're sitting back on that 11 meter, by the time you match the speed, sometimes US has already had a solid 5 yards to be sprinting at you, and your direction, it's just too hard to match.
Hong Kong will get the clear from Kei-Hai Ho, and she took it in. And we'll have free position for Hong Kong. They don't have a shot. They should be in their first free position of the game. Liz Hogan gets ready for it. Charlotte Hartley. And Hartley to goal. Hogan the save. Or check that Kaylee Waters has come on to play this third quarter. Allie Kennedy the other way. And that pass sails to the corner where North recovers. So Hogan did not face a shot while she was in there. Waters coming up with the save. Hong Kong with their first look at goal. But the commitment level of Hong Kong since April 1st, as we were just joined, in case you weren't with us for the half, Joe Tsai, longtime benefactor of World Lacrosse, and his daughter Alexandra, who played at Stanford, is on the team. She's a starting attack. So it's a special night for him and really a special week for this tournament to get going. And the devotion from these players from Hong Kong together since April 1st. 2 months spent in the Czech Republic, time spent in Belgium, Germany, and the Netherlands. And they have made friends all over the world. And the Czech Republic is apparently going to be coming by to watch the rest of this one. The Czech Republic team, they've kind of become the big sisters of the Hong Kong team, as the Czechs also so devoted towards raising their stick skills over the last decade. Box lacrosse, they have been at it nonstop. And mentors to Hong Kong.
You know, the more you continue to play the best, the better you become as a country. It may be hard to continue to play defense, it seems like, for an entire game, but the experience that each and every one of these players.
Toss to Kennedy from Olmiller. So a pair of Stony Brook players connecting. 16-0 and the U.S. on the board in the third quarter.
That's a connection that in their collegiate days they saw all too often. Allie Kennedy using her speed to get open from her defensive player. Kylie Olmiller with her eyes up. She knows exactly where to put that ball. It's like an alley-oop. Both so athletic, but they were able to build that connection over 4 years in their collegiate careers and then continue on at the U.S. level under their collegiate head coach, Joe Spallina, who's the assistant coach for Team USA.
Joe's got a busy week. His son, Joey, by some publications, has been named the High School National Player of the Year and a signee with Syracuse. He'll be playing in Saturday night's National High School All-American game taking place in Annapolis. Daughter playing in tournaments nearby. As we said, Court, you're a parent, it never stops, at least in the month of July.
June, July, jam-packed with lacrosse.
Draw control for Hong Kong as they charge to goal, and they just missed the shot. Oh, darting through, that was Michelle Yu. No backup for Hong Kong. That's now 2 looks at goal.
The speed with which Michelle Yu just dodged. Incredible, running through the sticks, evading 2 Team USA players. That's what they need more of, not being afraid. They know how to play lacrosse. You need to forget who the opponent is and just continue to play their style, which, as their coach said, is fast and relentless.
The Yu sisters, Vanessa was honorable mention high school All-American, second team All-Long Island out of Oyster Bay High School. Michelle was twice All-County, twice honorable mention All-County, had solid careers over in the Ivy League. And Michelle's career, of course, being stunted with the Ivy League and COVID shutdowns. Vanessa missing out part of her senior year at Yale. So those are two of the established Hong Kong players. Wang getting a season in playing at Cal. And upon the cut, we'll get a whistle off ball just before Emily Parros was about to shoot. New goalie in for Hong Kong as well, Hui Tan Liu, to play this second half. After Sally Yu had started. And shooting space for the U.S. So they drop it back to Lizzie Colson. Colson off the jump, and then continues to weave through and beats Liu.
Lizzie Colson, known for being so dominant on the defensive end of the field. She's a spark in the midfield, especially off the draw control. Had most of her career at Maryland on the D side, coming up with a lot of caused turnovers, ground balls, draw controls. But she was a midfielder coming out of high school. She resorted to the fact this is where the coaches have me. They loved her ability to be super athletic on the defensive end. But she was certainly excited to be playing some midfield again back on Team USA.
Great week for Lizzie too, as her sister Stephanie is playing for Team Italy. Draw control, Marie McCool. Draws are 12-6 U.S.
Now, oftentimes when your team wins the draw, you want to be able to capitalize and have it translate at least into a shot on goal, and ideally that next step, a goal. So many times that we've seen Hong Kong China come up with the ball at the draw. The relentless pressure of Team USA has coughed it up, given them a turnover.
Hong Kong has had a long quarantine, particularly at the very early stages, where these Hong Kong China players had to be very creative to find a way to wall ball, and that is still continuing. North went behind the back there with the flip pass behind. Olmiller. So tough to establish a rhythm with your skills when there are so many restrictions. Lizzie Colson with consecutive goals to get the U.S. up to 18-0.
Lizzie Colson, again, showcasing her speed, her dodging capabilities. She caught this ball on the run. Nice little split dodge. She puts her head down, runs through traffic. Great protection. Her speed and athleticism being the two biggest parts of her game right there, but some midfield action. Gotta love Lizzie Colson with back-to-back goals for Team USA.
Yeah, Courtney, when I remember Lizzie Colson, she was also a tenacious defender like you were. Tons of calls turnovers in her career.
You know, I just was talking about her path from Maryland. Again, I started at mid and then went back to D, the same thing. And Team USA, I got to go back to the midfield position. So I'm like, oh my gosh, we're living parallel lives, but yet 20 years apart.
McCool with the draw control. And we're seeing players sacrifice in a lot of ways when you have so many stars. They're used to different roles at the college level, and many times you jump into a lineup like this, US, Canada, and all the Pool A teams, you see the ball a lot more. but here you have to learn how to share it at a higher rate. And sometimes you're not going to get as many shots or carry time as you're accustomed to. You got to find a way to still contribute.
That's exactly right. We see Team USA passing that ball, slinging it around the perimeter quickly. They truly do share it so very well.
After they work it around once, Arsenault moved it behind. McCool started off the game hot with a couple of early goals, has added a behind-the-back goal. And the U.S. try a flip pass hidden ball trick, and Hong Kong China saw it all the way. North continued. Well, Courtney, in games like this, I'm sure you've coached on both sides of it, but still, these are invaluable minutes here, particularly in a tournament that lasts 10 days. There can still be value here. How do you communicate that to your teams in these situations?
You know, without a shot clock, you need to be able to have patience. You need to be able to listen to what the coach's call is coming in. We've seen a lot of close games where one attacker goes rogue and they really want to take a shot even though they shouldn't.
North faking the hidden ball trick, then spins, goal line extended, and she has her first goal of the game. Well, hold on, do we have another whistle? As we see the replay, and it's another illegal stick on Charlotte North. What is going on?
An excellent move, despite the fact that her second stick is being deemed illegal. Taking her defensive player up high enough before she rolls back underneath.
Charlotte North visibly frustrated. So the depth of the pocket, it was a black stick earlier that was taken away, and immediately it was deemed illegal after Charlotte had scored a goal in the first quarter. This is a shot coming here from Hong Kong, and Wing Yi Lam, one of their leading scorers. No backup though for Hong Kong. Wing Yi's had a good tournament, 8 goals and 4 assists in 4 games. So Hong Kong with now 3 shots. Kaylee Waters has had to make 1 save.
It's good for Team USA to see Meg Dowdy back on the field defensively after their first game of pool play. She had been out. An all-world player for Team USA, one of the veterans from the 2017 World Championship.
And just looking back at 2017, 5 years ago, this roster that Jenny Levy put together and her staff, it's gone through a lot of changes.
There were definitely some veterans that had been left off.
Liu making the save at the horn. And the U.S. got one more look from Arsenault. All United States, 18-0 into the 4th. Back for the 4th on ESPN+. Well, top-seeded United States, 18-0 over 16-seeded Hong Kong, China. We knew this would be certainly a tough game. And the question was, what would the U.S. look like, Courtney, as they would play? They came out shooting the ball sharply. How would you describe the way they have looked? As we have, speaking of looking, live look-in, first few minutes, fourth quarter, 9-seeded Japan. Over on ESPN Plus, you can watch them leading and trying to close out 8-seeded New Zealand. That's who the United States are lined up to play, so it looks like it'll be the U.S. taking on Japan.
Japan has had a long-standing program, a lot of great connections with NCAA programs in the U.S. traveling over to Japan to play. Japan often taking different trips to the U.S. to play during fall ball. There's actually a current player on Denver who's on the Japanese national team. So a bit more established. I think that first game against New Zealand is gaining confidence for them before they head into what is going to be a matchup with Team USA.
And certainly you'd expect to see a better challenge from Japan when you look at their scores and what they've done in pool play. Everybody I talked to mentions, you know, Japan has opened up eyes. And today is the latest in that, not just to beat New Zealand, but it looks like just based on the scores by quarters that they have been in complete control.
I mean, they have not been challenged to date. Their first game versus Haudenosaunee, 13-8 win. That was their closest. Then they went on 25-3 versus Argentina, 19-1 versus China, 21-1 Switzerland. So this matchup versus New Zealand, it has been their biggest challenge since their very first game.
And just to compare scores, Haudenosaunee getting the 12 seed in the championship bracket. Haudenosaunee earlier today defeated Scotland, who's a Pool A team. Now, maybe the Scots, of course, could be a bit down. They went 0-4 in pool play, but that tells me something. Feed across. Mastriani slipping down, trying to avoid stepping into the crease. And in goal is Hui Tan Lu for Hong Kong. As she was out of goal, the ball is going to belong here to the U.S., and they will put Lu behind Olmiller.
That was a tough one. Not sure if I agree with that call. Hong Kong, China's been doing better and better defensively, being active, hustling to get to ground balls.
The U.S. was held to just 3 goals in the third quarter. They did work the ball around a little bit longer. Mastriani, free position. She'll take it to goal and making the save with her foot, Hui Tan Lu. She came on in the second half after Sally Yu had played the first. And Hong Kong trying to transition. And we touched on how often this team has been working together 4 times a week going back to last year. They go to the gym twice together as a team. Head coach Jennifer Morosu, who moved to Hong Kong full-time from New Jersey, where she was a high school head coach at Gill St. Bernard's and was operating T3 Lacrosse, a travel organization, and now strictly just coaching Hong Kong. The U.S. coming up with the takeaway, and they'll settle in 6-on-6.
At this point, I think fatigue setting in for the defensive players. They've been playing just about for 4 quarters straight. Hong Kong, China. What I would have liked to have seen out of that transition with the ball on the goalie stick, letting the attackers, who have had plenty of time to rest, move for the ball, ask for it, giving those defensive players a little bit of a break.
The throw back on the pass, and a foul whistled against Hong Kong. Lizzie Colson has scored the last 2 for the U.S. Another free position. She got off the jump, and she hits the post with the bouncer. As Hong Kong tries to clear. U.S. hitting 3 pipes tonight. Have a look in your lower left-hand corner.
Lizzie Colson, again showing her offensive range right off the post. But Team USA getting that ball back. They are tough with the ride.
Mastriani shooting with the left and across the green. And now we have a Hong Kong player shaken up. This is Leona Chak, starting defender that attends the University of Hong Kong. The vast majority of these Hong Kong players picked up the sport at the university level. And essentially the way the sport is structured there, and as we heard from Joe Tsai about all the youth teams, but they kind of start in hall teams. Basically kind of one building against the next, and that's kind of where the inspiration for lacrosse starts up for many of them. And then they reached out to the Hong Kong China Lacrosse Organization and Jennifer Morosu. So they have a lot of players in the pipeline that are interested, and they're hoping to grow the game at the youth level, U18 and below. As we heard from Joe, that's exactly what it takes, what a difference that makes when you have players that can pick up the sport in their teens or even as a grammar schooler.
I think what I was most impressed with, the 20,000 youth that are playing. And that takes time, effort, energy to organize, get set from the grassroots up. That's a concerted effort for sure.
So Leona Ka-Yan Chak getting some assistance as she favors her knee as she comes off the field. And closest to us, that's Jennifer Morosu, who has dedicated a lot of time over the last year to this team.
We forget these players have been waiting quite some time since 2021 to make it to these World Championships. Teams probably would have looked a bit different if they played in 2021. But as we heard, the trials and tribulations, many of the teams having less training sessions. As we heard Joe Tsai talk about at the halftime break, especially in China, very strict with the rules. They probably had way less than any of the teams here in terms of training and getting together.
Same goes for Australia. States locked down, one state to the next. So teams for Trish Adams, you're kind of getting one group together. Well, it depends on really where you live. Hopefully you get several attackers or several midfielders that happen to live in a state, in one state, and can work out together. But they are all here in Towson, Maryland. Olmiller locates the cutter, changing her shot, Mastriani.
A foul is called. Free position is going to be awarded, 11 meter.
And the U.S. feeds it down low, and they hit the pipe again for the 4th time. That was a rattler stepping into the shot, Molly Hendrick.
We hear the coaches communicating from the sideline, reminding Team USA that they needed a backup. Saw that happen all too many times with Hong Kong, China. Taking some shots, quality shots, but then losing the ball due to Team USA backing up their shot as opposed to an attacker.
Coming all the way in front and showing great patience, Emily Parros. The defender committed, overcommitted, and the U.S. has their first goal of the 4th.
Emily Parros, number 6 for Team USA, inverting a bit. She's a midfielder, not often found behind the goal cage at X, but showing that she can dodge from just about anywhere. She's super quick and athletic. I love the fake she threw in, getting the goalkeeper to bite before she finished off with her shot. Emily's story, she thought her career was done. She had not made Team USA under the previous staff. When Jenny Levy took the job, she gave her a call. She was a captain at UNC. She's like, hey, I need you. And she is one of those stalwarts on the field, kind of relaxes everyone, just a workhorse from the offense to the defensive end. Just goes to show how dominant Team USA can be, where she wouldn't make it previously. Maybe another coach saw something different in another player, and then she can come in and be a dominant US team player under the new staff.
Barros becomes the 11th different U.S. scorer tonight. And what a roster breakdown it was when you read the stories from Jenny Levy, the other coaches, Scott Teeter of Canada, how down to the wire it came, because there's only 18 roster spots, folks. So you know you're going to have 2 goalies. So when you whittle it down there, boy, you're looking at 4 defenders. And there are hopes as this tournament grows where there could be more roster adds, where the limits go up to 23. In the men's world championships, those rosters are 23. The women's side here is 18. And certainly for the exhausting 10 days that it is, I think every coach would welcome an extra set of hands, an extra midfielder, an extra defender somewhere.
You know, believe it or not, this is the first year of 10v10. World Championships were previously 12v12, and back when I played, it was just 15 players. 15 players, so 2 subs for the field. Obviously, you were taking another goalkeeper, and oftentimes that goalkeeper needed to be able to step on the field just in case. So you needed to make sure you were picking someone who was able to be a goalkeeper as well as a field player as needed. So it's just evolved, and I think that's probably the most exciting part, to see year after year the changes that are made. I'm sure they'll add more players at some point. Number one, safety factor, right? That's a lot of games in one day. Not enough in terms of recovery, but on the flip side, I know they're keeping in mind, in many countries, it's hard. That's why I think one of the reasons it went down to a 10v10 as opposed to keeping 12v12 sixes, which we're going to be heading to in middle of July. That's more conducive to developing countries being able to have enough players to be on the field. Enough quality players.
Taylor Cummings won't take the free position, and particularly in the position of goalie, there are numerous teams here out of the 29 of the World Championships that only have 1 goalie. And that's not because they chose it that way. We're going to get a card out against Hong Kong, China. So with 4:40 left, the U.S. will go 6-on-5. Player up for the second time today. As for Hong Kong, Kunuku Ito heads off. Her third rolls. Olmiller off the jump, took it to goal, and the U.S. has reached 20.
Kylie Olmiller showed her explosive speed. This is what initially drew the foul. Her acceleration on the cut. Got a ball to the head. A yellow card was emitted. And then again, her being incredibly quick off of that 11-meter line. Like you said, goal number 20 for Team USA. They are in search of a shutout versus Hong Kong, China.
The U.S. last shut out an opponent in the 2005 quarterfinals of the championship bracket. And that could happen here in the round of 16. So the timeout used here with 4:23. And for Hong Kong, they came into this tournament in Towson with heavy hearts. One of their players, Yi Ting Tang, she goes by Sally Tang, number 22, is unavailable and unable to be with the team here. She's back home in Hong Kong. Unfortunately, Sally lost her dad about 3-4 days before the tournament began, so she, in a hurry, had to unfortunately cancel her plans, but the Hong Kong China team is thinking about her. They've written number 22 somewhere, either on their hands, their wrists. I saw it, Jennifer Maruso had it on her hands, and they are certainly thinking about her because she was with them every step of the way since April the 1st. So Sally Tang, Hong Kong China, is thinking about you. And she would have been in the mix as a starting attacker. And along their journey, they were unable to have her. Then they suffered an injury to Kai Yu Wu, who could have been a starting defender. With all the lacrosse that they were playing over months and months, that will come to an end this weekend.
It's incredible as you hear about the stories, all walks of life, different jobs. It's amazing that Hong Kong China, many of the players having to quit their jobs in order to train and compete, getting prepared for world championships. But the coaching staff had talked about lawyers, medical personnel. They have a mom of 4 playing on this team.
Yep, that's Kanuku Ito, who worked her way back to join the team. Her kids are starting to play lacrosse too, as Hong Kong China thinks about the next generation. And when you look at these U.S. bios, the Canadian bios, you'll notice how many second-generation lacrosse players and lacrosse stars in a lot of cases that there are. And these developing countries look to have that same path in the next half generation or so. I think we're not too far away from having 3rd-generation Team USA type players. Olmiller skips in, stepping into the shot, and before that can occur, by the shot by Kennedy. Rather, Cummings' shooting space is rewarded. No, that is Kennedy on the far side.
Team USA working their player-up offense, being methodical with their movements, their cuts, their large swing passes.
Olmiller will get shooting space just as time expires on the yellow card to Kanuku Ito. The U.S. shooting 20 of 37, started off 6 of 7. There's a feed, came from McCool, and she finds the cutting Molly Hendrick. So the U.S. now has a tournament high 21 goals.
A little connection, Tar Heel to Tar Heel. Ball's finding Marie McCool at X again. She's a midfielder, generally found up high. Molly Hendrick showcasing her speed, cutting to goal. No, at this point, the defense is just tired. They're getting worn down. We don't see a lot of collapsing on any of the cutters inside. Fatigue definitely setting in, but Hong Kong China, they have worked hard. They've continued to play, given it their best effort against the reigning world champs who are on a quest to repeat.
U.S. went for 20 goals on Friday against Scotland, so they have surpassed that. And the only question is, will they get the shutout, which last occurred in the 2005 World Championship quarterfinal bracket, quarterfinal round against Scotland. Back then, just 12-team brackets. This is the first ever 1 versus 16 matchup. Japan has gone final. They have held off New Zealand. Convincing victory there by the 9 seed over the 8. It's going to be fascinating to watch when you look at all the numbers that Japan has put up. And it should be a scrappy game coming up tomorrow night in the quarterfinals. And on the other side of that bracket, the United States will have a look at Australia taking on Haudenosaunee.
I love how Hong Kong, China, they're continuing to communicate. Their sticks are up. The game is not over until the clock hits 0. Team USA being patient, as they should, because this one has been signed, sealed, and delivered for quite some time.
8-0 after 1, 15-0 at the half. And the U.S. will pile up the numbers with 11 different goal scorers. Charlotte North does not score, but the U.S. has its first shutout since the 2005 World Championship. 21-0 over Hong Kong, China. They advance and pursue to try to protect and defend their last 2 crowns, or make that 3 crowns, but the U.S. tonight, at times overwhelming Hong Kong, China, who did give it their best, and the U.S. playing their full roster, trying to get everybody an opportunity.
It's always nice when you're able to step out onto the field, walk away with a solid win, just like Team USA did, but still be able to shake hands, look at your competitor in the eye, know that they did their best too. All of the teams within World Championships, tremendous sportsmanship displayed, oftentimes gifts handed back and forth between one country to another, smiles, new friends made, and that's ultimately what sports are all about.
And unforgettable memories for all these players here at the World Championships. Updating the bracket, so there it is, the U.S. taking on Japan as the final game at 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN+. Haudenosaunee and Australia on the other side of this bracket in a 12-4 matchup. So the other side of the bracket, England and Israel will get us started at 11 a.m. in the quarters of the championship bracket, and the Czech Republic getting past Germany 14-9 in the quarters, a 10-7. Canada getting past Puerto Rico, the 15 seed. So we are set in the quarterfinals of our championship bracket here in Towson, Maryland, where the United States gets everybody involved, and they shut out Hong Kong, China, 21-0. For Courtney Martinez-Connor, for our producer and director, Adam Teeter, my name is Ralph Pinarchik saying so long, and have a great rest of your night from Towson on ESPN+.